Hello children, welcome to this class. Today we are going to discuss about power sharing. Yes, you are right children. We are going to discuss from the place we left the other class. So let us see what is in store for us. But before that, I want you to get ready with your social science textbook if possible, a pen and a notebook to note down the important points while we are going through this important chapter, power sharing. So, are you ready, children? So, in democracy, different parties compete to come to power. In case no party gets majority, then two or more parties form an alliance to come to power and form coalition government. Remember the definition of a coalition government? In case no party gets majority, then two or more parties form an alliance to come to power and they form coalition government. So power sharing among political parties, pressure groups and different movements which are going to be learned now by you. So power sharing arrangements can also be seen in the way as political parties, pressure groups and movements control or influence those in power. In a democracy, the citizens must have freedom to choose among various contenders for power. In democracy or in contemporary democracies, this takes the form of competition among different parties. You might have seen whenever there is election, there is very stiff competition between different political parties. Such competition ensures that power does not remain in one hand. Remember, the competition generally ensures that power does not remain in one hand. In the long run, power is shared among different political parties that represent different ideologies and social groups. Sometimes this kind of sharing can be direct when two or more parties form an alliance to contest elections. If their alliance is elected, as I said, they form a coalition government and thus share power. So in democracy, we find interest groups such as those of traders, businessmen, industrialists, farmers, and industrial workers. They also will have a share in government's power, either through participation in governmental committees or bringing influence on the decision making process. So I'm going to share some examples here. Okay. The Bombay High Court ordered the Maharashtra state government to immediately take action and improve living conditions for 2,000 odd children at 7 children's homes in Mumbai. This was a decision taken by the government at that time. Okay. So this is one kind of example that I wanted to share with you. So two examples of power sharing as we discussed, and I'm going to discuss it now again. It is about Belgium and Sri Lanka. This is very, very important from examination point of view, children, because they ask 1 mark, 3 mark or a 5 mark question for sure about Belgium and Sri Lanka, how they accommodated and all those things. Okay. So let us go to Belgium now. So Belgium is a federal monarch in Western Europe. It is a founding member of the European Union and hosts the European Union's headquarters as well as those of several other major international organizations such as NATO. Belgium covers an area of 30,528 square kilometers and it has a population of 11 million. So this is a small brief about Belgium. Okay. Now, so as I told you, it is a small country in Europe. Remember, that it is smaller in area than the area of Haryana. You have to remember another thing from examination point of view. It has borders with Netherlands, France and Germany. Remember, Belgium has borders with Netherlands, France and Germany. It has a population of little over 1 crore, about half the population of Haryana. The ethnic composition of this very small country is complex. Of the country's total population, look at the slide, 59% lives in the Flemish region and speaks Dutch language. Remember, 59% lives in Flemish region and speaks Dutch language. Another 40% people live in Wallonia region and speak French. Remember, 40% people live in Wallonia region and they speak French. Remaining 1% of the Belgians speak German. In the capital city, Brussels, remember, Brussels is the capital of Belgium. 80% people speak French while 20% are Dutch speaking. So you must remember this ethnic composition of Belgium. Clear? So this is the ethnic composition of Belgium. The minority French speaking community was relatively rich and powerful. This was resented by the Dutch speaking community who got the benefit of economic development and education much later. This led to tensions between the Dutch speaking and French speaking communities during the 1950s and 1960s. So there was a fight between the French and the Dutch speaking communities. The tension between the two communities was more acute in Brussels. Why? Brussels presented a special problem. The Dutch speaking people constituted a majority in the country but a minority in the capital. Let us see. So Constitution of Belgium states that number of Dutch and French speaking ministers shall be equal in central government. So these are some of the steps taken by the Belgian government to accommodate the Dutch and the French speaking people. Many powers of central government have been given to the state government. Brussels have a separate government in which each party have the equal representation. There is a third kind of government called community government, which is elected by the people belonging to one language community. I want to jot it down in 2 minutes time and the time starts now. Be a bit faster. So Constitution of Belgium states that the number of Dutch and French speaking ministers shall be equal in central government. That is the first point. The second point, many powers of central government have been given to the state government. The third one, Brussels have a separate government in which each party have the equal representation. Last one but not the least, there is a third kind of government called community government, which is elected by the people belonging to one language community. Let us move to the next slide. Let us go to Sri Lanka now. Okay, let us go to Sri Lanka. So, what happened in Sri Lanka is what we are going to discuss now. So, Sri Lanka officially is called the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka. This is an island country in the northern Indian Ocean off the southern coast of the Indian subcontinent in South Asia, known until 1972 as Ceylon. So Sri Lanka was called Ceylon till 1972. Sri Lanka has maritime borders with India to the northwest and Maldives to the southwest. So these are the borders, neighboring countries, or we can say, okay. Look at the slide once more. I'm reading it for you. Sri Lanka, officially the Democratic Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, is an island country in the northern Indian Ocean off the southern coast of the Indian subcontinent in South Asia. Known until 1972 as Ceylon, Sri Lanka has maritime borders with India to the northwest and Maldives to the southwest. So, ethnic community of Sri Lanka. We are going to discuss this in a moment, but I have something to inform you. Okay. So, Sri Lanka emerged as an independent country in 1948. You have to remember this, children. Note down. So, it emerged as an independent country in 1948. The leaders of the Sinhala community sought to secure dominance over government by virtue of their majority. Here it means that Sinhalas were the majority community in Sri Lanka in 1948. As a result, the democratically elected government adopted a series of majoritarian measures to establish Sinhala supremacy. So, what is majoritarianism here? So, it is a belief that the majority community should be able to rule a country in whichever way it wants by disregarding the wishes and needs of the minority. I repeat, what is majoritarianism? It is a belief that the majority community should be able to rule the country in whichever way it wants, but disregarding the wishes and needs of the minority. So, nobody is going to take care of minority. Whatever minority says, majority will never accept. That is majoritarianism. So in 1956, what happened in Sri Lanka? An act was passed to recognize Sinhala as the only official language, thus disregarding Tamil. So they made Sinhala as the only official language in the year 1956. The governments followed preferential policies that favored Sinhala applicants for university positions and government jobs. This was the second step. First one was they passed an act in 1956 to recognize Sinhala as the only official language and they disregarded Tamil. That was the first step. Second step was the governments they followed preferential policies that favored Sinhala applicants for university positions and government jobs. Third one, the new constitution stipulated that the state shall protect and foster Buddhism. They want to promote Buddhism and protect Buddhism. So what happened? All these government measures coming one after the other gradually increased the feeling of alienation among the Sri Lankan Tamils. So the Sri Lankan Tamils felt that they were like aliens in their own country. They felt that none of the majority political parties led by the Buddhist Sinhala leaders were sensitive to their language and culture. They felt that the constitution and government policies denied them equal political rights, discriminated against them in getting jobs and other opportunities, and ignored their interests. As a result, what happened? The relations between the Sinhala and the Tamil communities strained over time. Okay, so they were not happy staying there. So there was a fight, almost a fight between the Sinhala and the Tamil communities in Sri Lanka during that time. Okay. The Sri Lankan Tamils launched parties and struggles for the recognition of Tamil as an official language, for regional autonomy and equality of opportunity in securing education and jobs. But their demand for more autonomy to provinces populated by the Tamils was repeatedly denied. By 1980s, several political organizations were formed demanding an independent Tamil Elam in northern and eastern parts of Sri Lanka. Where? In northern and eastern parts of Sri Lanka. Okay. The distrust between the two communities turned into widespread conflict. It soon turned into a civil war. As a result, thousands of people of both the communities have been killed. Many families were forced to leave the country as refugees and many more lost their livelihoods. So, this is a small difference between how the Sri Lanka has accommodated and Belgium accommodated the kind of fights people had. So this is very important chapter from examination point of view. So a repetition again, one moment, because this is very important. So Sri Lanka emerged as an independent country in 1948. Government took many steps to establish majoritarianism. What did it do? What did the government do? In 1956, an act was passed to recognize Sinhala as the only official language of Sri Lanka. The preference was given to the Sinhala applicants for university positions and government. Moreover, government of Sri Lanka was intensive to Tamil's language and culture. So I have a home assignment for you children. So there are 9 questions to be answered. Why has the idea of power sharing emerged? What is its need in a democracy? Which are the majority and minority groups in Sri Lanka? What is majoritarianism in Sri Lanka? Discuss. Explain the meaning of federal division of power. How was the Brussels government constituted? Explain. Describe the demands made by the Tamilians in Sri Lanka. Explain the basic principles of democracy. Which are the 2 major political parties in Germany? Which are the countries that have a federal division of power? Name any 2. So my suggestion for you is that children, before attempting these questions, read the textbook twice thoroughly. Okay, then you can attempt the answers in an easy manner. Okay. Thank you children. Be safe. Keep reading at home. Thank you once again.